Alrighty. Hello, everyone. It's your boss, Joe Boss, bringing you another daily plan. And today, we got the BoJ. Let's go ahead and switch on over. Got some good music playing. Let me know if you guys are watching, who's watching. Always nice to see familiar faces. And if you're not one yet, you can always hop into the Discord here, over in the Plan the Profit Discord, right? You'll get links to all these things here. Actually, I should just go ahead and post here in the chat. Heyo, Tone. Nice to see you. Here's a link in the chat for everyone, and I'll go ahead and pin that just in case. Nice to see you, Tone. Absolutely. Man. You know, I'm looking at my calendar for next week on the streams, and I'm noticing so I have all the trading stuff planned out. Here, let me turn down the music a little bit. I have all of our trading streams planned out to the end of this week. We got a busy week here. You know, FOMC's tomorrow, Bank of England the day after that, and then we have a week ahead trade plan. And then on Saturday, another PineScript programming hour, and this is a special one because we're actually going to be publishing the indicator we've been working on for technically the last 4 programming hours. So we'll be publishing an indicator on stream. And then we have Flash PMIs. This stream might get updated to occur sometime around midnight. Because these are mostly European Flash PMIs are what I'm interested in. So I might have 2 streams, like one at like 1 a.m. Some crazy time like that, in order to catch the European session Flash PMIs. But this is the one for the US session PMIs. Then that's on Monday, and then there's no streams I really have scheduled until next Friday, and then Saturday for the next programming hour. Guess on that Friday, the following Friday, not this next one, you have PCE in Canada GDP. So, I'm not too sure what to do Monday through Thursday. I think I'm gonna leave myself open to quote-unquote impromptu streams, so whenever there's breaking news, just go live. Or we can go ahead and try and get 1 or 2 more PineScript programming hour streams in over this week here. So next week, not this week, next week, we could have a few more programming streams than normal. And you guys really liked the last one too. These programming streams are getting lots and lots of views. At least more views than normal for my trading stuff. Anyways, let's get right on into it. This is what the dollar-yen looks like going here into the BoJ. And I'm very happy because after the last few days of not hitting expectations, it's like, oh, well, this expectation you set, Joe, way back when, last Friday on the 14th. So far, we've been following it kind of to a T, right? I don't know if you guys can see this or not, so I'll go ahead and hide the chart real quick. And now you can probably see more clearly the expectation of going up to here and then down and then to a close down there. Let's unhide these things. But yeah, so far so good. And the expectation I have for seeing dollar-yen fall is effectively based on, okay, yeah, the Bank of Japan is expected to hold, right? We had effectively the Nikkei come out and say, hey, the Nikkei has learned amid growing concerns that the global economy will be pushed down by US tariffs and other factors. So, the Bank of Japan is likely to keep policy interest rates at 0.5% on hold at this next meeting. As an FYI, if you guys know who Weston Nakamura is and you don't know how to follow BoJ stuff, I think he's a good guy to start off reading BoJ, watching things from. A lot of his stuff is behind a paywall. It's not that expensive of a paywall. But he also has a lot of good free content out there on his YouTube channel. Weston Nakamura. And he's also got a pretty active X account as well. But it's from Weston that I learned, hey, it's not just Bloomberg and Reuters that are effectively Federal Reserve mouthpieces, putting out early press tests. He's saying, oh, our journalists have acquired some new information, some leaked information from such and such anonymous source at the Federal Reserve. And they say such and such action will take place, and it moves the markets immediately 50 to 100 pips. That is a press test. Well, in Japan, they have the same thing for the Bank of Japan, and that is the Nikkei here. And Nikkei Asia is just the English text version. So when it says Nikkei has learned that the Bank of Japan will stay on hold, it's kind of this is kind of a semi-press test of confirmation saying, yeah, the Fed's probably going to be on hold. Don't get me wrong, when you actually go and look at market pricing and market probabilities, right, where people actually have their money, it's effectively fully priced in and fully expected that the Bank of Japan is going to be on hold today. But if Nikkei had said something along the lines here of, oh, we learned from a source of a source, right, that there's disagreement within the Bank of Japan on whether or not to hold or to hike, that would have caused a bit more volatility, that'd be a bit more hawkish than their current position. And I believe sometime next week, we will be getting the BoJ minutes. And then we'll find out from those BoJ minutes if there is any hint of precisely how hawkish they are, right? We expect them to kind of stay alongside the consensus expectations for now as far as, okay, 2 more rate hikes. When are they going to happen, right? And frankly, that tone might be just enough to continue weakening of the yen short term. But personally, I still see the yen getting stronger from here. I don't see how, okay, just because we're going to be on hold here, the Fed's also on hold. The Fed actually, might have to cut if US GDP actually falls like a bunch of economists are expecting. If we go to the economics channel here in Discord, I posted a bit about it. Where is it? Oh yeah, Capital Spectators. US GDP nowcasts remain close to stall speed for Q1. And we can look at this. So these are all of the GDP nowcasts from a bunch of different institutions. PMI, Economy.com, BMO, Wells Fargo, GDP Now, St. Louis Fed, New York Fed. It seems like the 2 outliers that are expecting larger GDP prints than the rest are 2 Federal Reserve banks, the New York Fed and the St. Louis Fed. We'll see how close they are now. GDP Now is printing fairly negative, and that's the only one that's super negative right now. So median is 1.2% GDP growth for this next quarter. If we come out at like 1.5%, don't get me wrong, that'll be technically a decline still, but it's not going to be, crazy. If we get effectively sub 1% GDP growth quarter over quarter for Q1 2025, I'll definitely be concerned. Hello, Trent. Nice to see you, and the funny emojis. Nice to see you, my man. Nice to see you. And let's check out Everything going over on WAP. Everything's still cool. We're still streaming over on WAP. All's good. All's good on that front. Okay, so let's go over here. Check out the economic calendar. In 18 minutes, we are getting the BoJ interest rate decision. We are expecting them to stay on hold. So not much else on my commentary side. We can go ahead and check out this other article from Nikkei, which is a more geopolitically focused article, which I think would provide useful context here. BoJ's tightening campaign gets help from Trump and unions. If we go all the way down here, unions appeared to have lost their raison d'etre when they stopped demanding large wage hikes in the 1990s, the start of Japan's lost decades. And if you're confused as to what these unions are, these are workers' unions in Japan, and on behalf of these labor unions, they go to the employers and say, okay, for our labor, for the labor we represent in these unions, we want these wage increases for them. So they secured a nice large 5.5% wage increase, which is going to help drive inflation higher in Japan, which is also going to help push the BoJ to continue their rate hike cycle. And there's also this. So real quick, Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump is chiding Japan and China for what he sees as their efforts to devalue their currencies. You can't continue to reduce and break down your currency. You just can't do it. It's because it's unfair to us. And the way you solve it very easily is with tariffs. And he said that a couple weeks ago. The huge interest rate differential between the United States and Japan has been a big reason for the yen's persistent weakness against the greenback. And that's an interesting comment because that's effectively what this indicator is. This is the FX yield spread curve. You get this by joining the trading group plus indicators package. You can try it out for 10 days for free if you'd like. And you can kind of see here how it colors the bars in red and in green, depending on the direction of the yield spreads. Red for the yen's yields are becoming stronger, or the US yields are getting weaker relative to the other countries. Green is the dollar's yields are getting stronger to Japan's, or Japan's yields are simply getting weaker relative to the United States, depending on how you view it. So green should be bullish, red should be bearish. I think that's simple enough to read. And right now we're in a more neutral-ish territory zone. Don't get me wrong, the long-term trend right now is still bearish. You can actually see just by looking at the indicator, okay, we got a bunch of red here on the chart, we got a bunch of red here on this table. Red is down, generally speaking. At least when it comes down to interpreting yield spreads. Is it 100% of the time correct? No, because yields are not the only thing that moves prices in the foreign exchange market. However, they are a decent factor that a lot of institutions use them for setting their directional expectations on FX. So if you want access to that, and all these other indicators too, you can go ahead, up into the trading group. So let's continue on here. Trump's remarks could be a boon to the BoJ's efforts to normalize its policy. Effectively saying, hey, you can't just go and print a bunch of money to control the inflation response effectively in Japan. You can't generate a bunch of money just to generate more inflation in Japan so then you can actually hike the BoJ rates. So, you know what? Things are going so far so good. Politicians now appear afraid to make such remarks for fear of triggering. Yeah. Politicians used to pressure the BoJ to not raise rates when the economy was slow as it is right now. And politicians are like, oh, we want to be friends with the US. We don't want to do that. So we're just going to let the BoJ keep doing BoJ things. Oxford Economics Nage went further, saying the unions, the people who got this huge bonus for all these labor workers, right? In Japan, so now wages in Japan are creating inflation, saying that these unions should have demanded even bigger raises in view of the recent acceleration of inflation. So they're actually saying that they kind of lowballed. They should have asked for more money because inflation is rising fast enough in Japan to ask for more money. In January, headline consumer inflation hit a 2-year high. All right. As a result of talks with smaller companies trickle in, the average pay increase tends to fall. Wage growth needs to be much stronger. If unions are satisfied with last year's levels, it will be difficult to achieve a quote-unquote virtuous cycle as envisioned by the BoJ of higher wages leading to more consumption and self-sustaining inflation, which would justify higher BoJ rates. Okay. How much time do we got left? We still got about 12 minutes left. Just playing around with the audio a little bit. Okay, let's check out the FX heat map to see what is moving. Wow, Aussie is making a pretty good recovery. Let's go check that out. Yeah, Aussie's done pretty okay so far on the day. But who's to say it can't continue to fall after what it did yesterday? However, net things are looking pretty good for the Aussie. I wouldn't be surprised to see higher prices, frankly. Yeah, given these yield spreads, I would not be surprised to see another increase here. Might be eating my words here if I say, I don't know. Let's go ahead and check out the timing dots. So, given let's increase this box just a bit here. So we collect more data in our analysis. All right. So if the top for the week is in somewhere this red box, the following low, if we make a lower low, comes somewhere here at these red dots. If the low for the week is in now, somewhere here in this green box, then following higher highs are somewhere here at these green dots right here. So we have a cluster of dots right there, a cluster of dots right there, and a cluster of dots right there, and then you have these like really high tail ones, right? So just kind of ignoring the tail ones there, there's roughly 3 clusters here. Depends on what information is going on by the time we get over there. You know, I wouldn't be too surprised, frankly, to see us crack this 64 handle right here. Let's see here, and that's 64.50. Okay, so it's kind of moving in 50 pip increments here at the moment. Let's go ahead and slap these back on. Yeah, I think I'd feel more comfortable setting expectations of reaching these highs at the moment. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's draw an expectation and set that to green, timestamp it, because we want to keep track of our expectations over time. I believe it's the 18th, right? Yeah, it's the 18th. All right, and 1950. Isn't it nice being able to see expectations drawn over time? Right? It's like, oh, Joe was expecting things to go down here a few streams ago, instead of you actually having to go back and rewatch all my damn streams. You can just look at the chart and see what I was thinking at different points in time and see how correct I am just by watching the latest stream, right? And if I didn't set an expectation, I didn't draw an arrow. Alrighty. So technically, this is the same expectation of up. I just wasn't expecting this up right away, so that expectation wasn't met. So now we're setting a new expectation higher into this zone right around here. We'll say that this effectively cracks 64, the 64 flat handle. So let's go ahead, pop in an alert for that one, just in case we do see that get hit. Let's see here, what else? Any updates on the dollar CAD situation? It's holding so far. That's technically a good sign here. Oh yeah, yield spreads are improving there. They're improving there a little bit. Not so much here on the daily. They're not terribly positive. But I'll tell you what, that's not super strong negative yield spread. This, you have one good day for the US dollar as far as yields go. Like, for example, growth in the United States comes out slightly better than expected. And this will immediately flip, like, definitively green. So this is in a spot right now where it's susceptible to being flipped to positive yield spreads. So gonna keep an eye out, of course, on the lower end, in the lower time frames. Yeah, these yield spreads are a bit more on the positive side. Yeah, it is likely that this is potentially the low for the week. And actually, if you look at this, if this is the low for the week, then setting an expectation like so seems more reasonable, right? Because you can actually see these dots right there. And then there's also this cluster of dots right here, but just setting an expectation right there is just fine, right? You know, hitting this and then hitting that would be, you know, sugar on top. It's an extra 60 pips. But that would be a very nice thing to set. I'm not totally confident about this expectation, but I'm just pointing it out, and I'm just gonna kind of go with it. We'll see how the FOMC is. This will mostly be an FOMC thing, if it does move higher. And more or less based on the survey, again, my expectation is that the Fed's going to come out a bit more hawkish because they see the survey expectations that we got from the survey of consumer inflation expectations from last week, showing a huge jump in inflation expectations, not just because of the tariffs, but just in general across the board. Like, again, tariffs were kind of a big thing that's impacting inflation expectations right now. So I don't think the Fed's going to totally ignore that, and they're going to maintain their policy and just hold effectively. Because they don't want to be too hawkish, because if unemployment does rise, they need to be ready, willing, and able to cut. So they're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place right now. And if they have to choose between cutting to save unemployment or hiking to save inflation, first they have to see which one is deteriorating faster. But if, let's say, for argument's sake, both are deteriorating at roughly the same pace, the Fed's going to cut rates and save unemployment. Because once unemployment is resolved and not going to insano levels, then they can tighten up monetary policy step by step, so that then people can stay employed while taking consistent hits at bringing down inflation. All right, we got 5 more minutes until BoJ makes their decision. Nice, chill stream. Hopefully you guys have been enjoying the music. But hopefully that was some pretty good commentary for you guys. Hopefully that was some good commentary. And we'll see if this expectation holds up. We'll see if this expectation also holds up here. So this would be a dollar bearish expectation, and this would be a dollar bullish expectation. So you might be saying, but Joe, you know, why trade in different directions here? Well, that's because one is for Canada and one's for Australia. In Canada, the US is essentially getting into a trade war with Canada. Mark Carney is going out of his way to try and sidestep the US. He's not going to get into, I think, anywhere near the kind of negotiations Trump will be happy with. So Canada's gonna get hit. But yeah, the United States has already said, hey, you know, Australia is actually, we got a really good trade relationship with Australia. We don't really have to worry or do anything with Australia. You know, they'll put on retaliatory tariffs in the United States, and if there are any tariffs that are going on, you know, the Australians would be kind of upset about that because they have those tariffs on. You know, the whole point of tariffs is to try and protect your own markets in your own country. But arguably more important than the tariff story for Australia, specifically on tariffs on Australia, is tariffs on China and Chinese stimulus, because a lot of business between Australia and New Zealand is done with the Chinese. So we're going to be getting an update, I think, sometime over the weekend on expectations for how Chinese stimulus is coming along over the week ahead, effectively. And that's going to help determine how high Australian dollar goes, because the bigger the budget, the more stuff, the more food, the more products, the more stuff the Chinese will be buying from the Australians. And, you know, with oil getting cheaper, there will be more manufacturing able to start again in China, arguably. And, well, when you kickstart production, when you buy all that oil to start up your energy for all your manufacturing, you got to have the raw materials to build a bunch of things, right? And a lot of those raw materials, they don't just come from within China, they also come from Australia. All right, and the calendar says we got about 1:50 left here. So let me go ahead and open up Financial Juice here. Move this guy back. So if you hear another person's voice here over on the stream, it's our friends over at Financial Juice. Which, if you're not familiar with what Financial Juice is, this is what's called a Squawk Chat. It gives you real-time news updates of when... Wait, did this already print? I thought the countdown was coming in a minute here. BoJ interest rate decision. Let's see here. Let's listen in on Financial Juice. Let's go to trading economics. Yeah, it says 30 minutes ago. 30 minutes ago, Bank of Japan kept its key term policy rate flat. So I got a huge bone to pick now with TradingView, man. This calendar is horrible. It's giving incorrect times. It's not including all the important economic events that are actual economic events. It's, you know, I'm not really happy with TradingView's economic calendar, frankly. Let's go back to the dollar yen. Let's go ahead and check this out. Let's see here. Dollar steady ahead of Fed decision. So let's see here. Let's go to calendar. Recent. No, the trading economics says 8 p.m. It's supposed to happen right now. So apparently they announced it early. Yeah, so trading economics and TradingView are not wrong, but apparently the data came out about 30 minutes early. Because trading economics has a whole thing on it here. Let's see here. Japan's economy likely to keep expanding beyond capacity, which will make it a good country for some exports here. BoJ inflation expectations rise moderately. Uncertainties high over Japan economy. Risks include developments in foreign economic activity. They're talking US tariffs there. And then high uncertainty regarding economy. No, we already read that one. They just highlighted it in red over on my screen. Yeah, Forex developments more likely to affect prices than before. So because they don't want the Ministry of Finance intervening in the currency, so just to avoid Trump from labeling the Japanese as currency manipulators and then putting tariffs on them for manipulating the currency exchange rate, the BoJ is just going out there and saying, hey, when something changes in the FX space, we're not going to be able to do too much to actually impact the price directly by printing a whole bunch of money. So we might see some undesired policy, some undesired economic data come through, and not be able to respond with all of our policy weapons here. Let's see here. Yeah, not much else. Not much else. Okay, so looks like nothing has happened. That is a very uneventful BoJ decision. Now we'll see how well things move forward on our expectations for all these other trade setups coming in tomorrow. Now, tomorrow is the FOMC stream. We're gonna have a pretty long stream tomorrow. I'm gonna be... Oh man, let's go ahead and hop on over to the Discord here. And go to events. This is the one tomorrow. Starts at 9:30 Pacific. If you go and join the Discord over here, Plan to Profit Community, link's pinned in the YouTube chat, you'll be able to see this time in your local time zone. So, you know, no need to ask for like, hey, what time is that in your time zone? Just go to the Discord, check out the calendar event, and it will tell you exactly in your local time zone when things start. So this is going to go on for about 3 hours. We're going to be watching the rate decision and Powell's speech after the decision. And then we're going to be doing commentary and market analysis before and after the meeting and the press conference. All right. Bum, bum, bum. And I have some new outlooks to post. So if you are in the Discord and you are reading the research, stay tuned to the Outlooks channel. There's new stuff coming tonight. Oh, we got some new stuff in the Trump watch thread. I warmly welcomed UAE National Security Advisor. Oh, so Trump is talking with the Saudis again. They're sending more diplomatic missions over to the US. Let's see. Excuse me. Okay, nothing too crazy. Trump just sharing an interview Elon Musk and Sean Hannity had together. Oh. Oh my. The President John F. Kennedy Assassination Records Collection. This webpage was created in response to Executive Order 14176, titled Declassification of Records Concerning the Assassination of President John F. Kennedy, Senator Robert F. Kennedy, and Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., which was signed by President Trump January 23, 2025. The President John F. Kennedy Assassination Records Collection consists of over 6 million pages of records, photographs, motion pictures, sound recordings, and artifacts. This webpage will host already released documents and items within the collection and will be the future home of documents and items that will be released. Wow. Okay. These are the recent records released, are linked below. Currently available online. Alright. And they're looking for guys to help archive and transcribe, or more like transcribe, some of the already archived material here. Alright. Well, we know this page is going to get a lot of views. Wow. Crazy to bring this up on a trading stream, but you know what? The more you learn about the world, the better at trading you get. And when you learn a lot about the world, you get to learn a lot about a lot. And that includes figuring out that Trump just, re-truthed or whatever out this archives.gov link. And again, if you want notifications of when Trump posts to Truth Social, if you don't follow Truth Social directly, in the Discord, there is an option to get a role. Just go to channels and roles here at the top of the Discord. Go to get pings of Trump's Truth Social posts in the Trump Watch research thread. Hit yes, and you will be assigned this Trump RSS role. And then whenever the RSS Trump bot here, with Trump's mugshot on it, sends out a message, it will ping you. And you'll be notified when the RSS feed actually updates. And yeah, there's also other things that get posted in here. I mean, this all used to be done manually, right? It used to all be manual posts, but now it's mostly, okay, we're using this for Trump Truth Social watching. And if there's any updates on live streams, if there's any updates on comments from other world leaders, if there's any information from news articles on executive orders, if there's any leaks or rumors, if there's anything from any of, if there's comments from Besant, which is Trump's Secretary of Treasury, Lutnick, Trump's Secretary of Commerce, and then there was a new person who was just appointed recently, who is now more or less the guy in charge of where tariffs are going to go, and we kind of have to see if we can really take him at his word or not. We are going to have to see that. We know we can trust Lutnick really, really well. When he says something's going to happen, it's like, every time he said something is going to happen, it's happened, and it happened pretty shortly. So it's important to watch Trump's cabinet and put that into the Trump Watch thread. We have other threads in here talking about other Trump, here's the Trump 47 tariffs. This is everything that's Trump tariff related. But this particular thread, it's a-okay to post like anything Trump related, Trump policy related. Everything in here goes, right? We have a pinned thread here saying, this is a collaborative thread. Get notified of breaking updates. Share and receive updates with other members, right? So this is for all kinds of breaking news that's Trump related or Trump administration related. So any contributions in here are very closely watched. There's a lot of people in here for a thread. Usually there's maybe 2-3 people in a research forum thread. There's like 10, there's 14 people in this thread. So if you want to follow this thread, just go up here on the 3 little dots and hit follow post, and you'll get notifications when there are new posts in this thread. Alrighty. Let's go ahead, head back to the charts, see if there's any movement here. It looks like we'll get a little bit more up move on the CAD side of things. How about the DXY? How's that holding? It's holding up pretty okay on the week. It's probably going to come down a little bit more, but I wouldn't be surprised to see the thing bounce up a little bit going into FOMC. And then we're going to check out dollar yen one more time. Not a whole lot of movement, guys. Not a whole. All right, I feel comfortable with calling it here for the night. It's already pretty late in a lot of places here in the US, where most of the guys who watch me from. So I'll go ahead and say thank you all for watching. Thank you all for hanging out. And I'll see you all in a bit.